Hello, once again, welcome to Pathfinders for Autism Zoomcast. I am your host, Rob Long. Joining me are two young ladies who, this is a difficult time for them as it is all of us. They are faced with different challenges. First, Amy Taubenfeld. She's the parent of an adult with ASD who receives DDA services from a day program. How are you, Amy?
We're doing all right.
And of course, when I ask how you are, it's all circumstantial, I'm sure, under the circumstances. If I'd have asked you that 3 months ago, you're in this situation, not so
I would
much.
have said fantastic.
Exactly. Jennifer Langley, she's a parent of two sons with ASD who attends Baltimore County Public Schools. First of all, with you, Amy, we've been, I guess, quote unquote, locked down now for the better part of 2 months. How has life for you and your son changed?
I have a daughter. She's
your daughter.
29.
I'm sorry, your daughter changed.
That's okay. She's 29 years old, and the first 2 weeks were tremendously challenging. We were completely. There was no arrangements. We were pretty much locked down on May the 13th with very little notice that the state of emergency was going to take place. So, but within a week of that, we started getting virtual classes up, and what was most important to my daughter was getting back into some kind of a schedule. Schedules for people on the spectrum are so important, and predictability of schedules are so important. So for her, knowing that she was going to start to see people that she was comfortable with again, her job coaches, her peers at Itinerus, and she knew her schedule, what her class schedule was, who she was seeing, things settled into a pretty decent routine.
Yeah, that's good because we all know they need routines badly. Jennifer, I guess same question for you. 2 months. I remember mid-March, early to mid-March, this happened. How has this affected you and your two sons?
So, Rob, I have three that have ASD, three on the spectrum. And it's been definitely a big change. My kids have very big social life, so it's affected that greatly. They do a lot of sports, a lot of horseback riding, a lot of therapy. So
what are their ages, if you don't mind me asking?
So I have twins that are 11, and I have a 10-year-old.
Okay.
So we kind of are missing school a lot. I'm missing my breaks, and then they play ice hockey. They do a lot of recreational sports, so they're missing that time. They're missing time with their friends and just social outings altogether because we're pretty restricted due to health issues. We're basically in the house majority of the time.
And Jennifer, I'm glad you said this. And since we're all parents of children who are on the spectrum, you said you're missing your breaks because that's important. Mentally, more so than everything, sometimes we need a break. So how have you dealt with that life without your personal breaks?
So, pretty much I go outside for 10 or 15 minutes and walk around the yard. I have created a love of cutting the grass and everybody in the neighborhood's grass while I'm at it. So I just kind of walk away sometimes. A lot of times they follow and I just redirect to, hey, mom's going to cut the grass, go play with the bubbles. And
right.
That's how I've been doing it. I do have DDA services as well. My kids are all on the Community Pathways waiver, and so they do have supports. They have people that come in to support, but it's just not all the staff is able to. So that staff is generally here during the day while we're doing schoolwork because I'm trying to manage 3 different students doing schoolwork, which they have a lot of additional supports and therapy. So our time on the computer is anywhere to 5 to 6 hours a day, just trying to get our schoolwork and our therapies in.
Now, they were going to school. How many different teachers would they have?
8 to 10. 8 to 10.
So you're doing the job of 8 to 10 teachers.
Absolutely. Plus a full behavioral support staff, which they utilize daily. My children utilize the behavior support staff daily. So it's a lot. It's a lot.
Amy, and I asked that specifically because I don't think people understand that You know, when they go to school or other places, Amy, they have a team of people helping them out. And in moments like this, it's the parent that's asked to do the job of the entire team. And again, we're not asking people to feel sorry for us. It's reality.
It is reality. And to some extent, you know, I've talked to many families who have neurotypical children in school, and they're trying to work and homeschool. And, you know, none of us were really trained to do this.
Right.
So, you know, I am working a full-time job. I am trying to manage my daughter's full-time day, you know, and I think taking care of ourselves kind of falls by the wayside most of the time. I'm used to, just like Jennifer, a support team at Itinerus. Annie has an employment specialist, and she has a behavior team also that works with her. She has job coaches. So all of those facets are no longer part of her daily life other than through the virtual classes. And for her, sitting at a computer as well from 10 to 3:30 every single day is just not what she's used to. She's used to really being out in the community more. She had jobs prior to this, so she's missing all of that. She's a very social person as well. So it's been a real challenge adapting to all of those roles in my house.
You know, it's funny because I've coached my entire life, and I've often said when my son was born, because of his challenges, it made me a better coach because it taught me how to put together game plans and strategies, because you have to do that every day as a parent. So, Amy, how is your game plan and your strategy adjusted throughout this pandemic?
I think, you know, as an executive director of an agency, my focus every day is organizational management. And, you know, we're right now really working very, very hard on a possible reintegration plan. And what does that look like over the next 9 months to a year? So I think I have that skill set to begin with. So, you know, as soon as we could see what was happening, it was, you know, I kind of reached back into what I think I'm most capable of, which is organizing, scheduling, planning, looking ahead, you know, and mapping out a life that we were going to have to modify, and putting in certain motivators like we do at Itinerus, and how do I incorporate her behavior strategies into what we're doing here so I can kind of try to maintain her behavior program. So I think that's pretty much the best thing we can do. Is for her, it's been keeping her schedule as
you know,
her motivators in place, and then trying to find time for me too.
You know, Jennifer, I compared it to coaching. And the one thing with coaching, with putting together a game plan, is your game plan changes for each opponent. So I guess your daily opponent would be whatever day that is. So how does your game plan adjust with 3 from day to day?
It's funny because I call my kids the team Tillman. That's what they're known as, even in the Pathfinder world, Team Tillman. So I roll with the punches. I don't have a game plan. When we wake up, that's where we start. You know, they're all unique. They all have different needs. They all have different temperaments. They work well together as siblings because what one is lacking, the other one makes up for. So the problem is they are 3 siblings, all the same age, basically. So they are pretty active with each other and pretty intrusive of each other's space and privacy. So sometimes that's an issue, but we just kind of roll with it. You know, if there's days where I feel like schoolwork is too much, we don't do it that day. And that's just how it is. You know, we'll do it tomorrow. However, I do make sure they get all their therapy sessions in. So if we have therapy scheduled, like one of them's doing therapy right now, doing speech therapy. And we get that done. And then, you know, if one of them's up at 1 o'clock in the morning, they can't sleep, we're on the iPad doing an assignment, you know? So I'm not a schedule mom. I tried schedules. I did it for years and it didn't work for my group because one wants to do one thing, the other one wants to do another. So if I find a common ground, we just go.
And do you find, and trust me, I feel your pain. And to me, it kind of, when you put together a schedule, you have to scrap it midway, and you constantly do that, it wears on you because it almost makes you feel like you're accomplishing nothing versus the semi-fly by the seat of your pants where you just pick things up as they go. It probably makes you feel at the end of the day like you've actually accomplished more.
Right. And you know what? We have fun. We have fun throughout our day. And there's a lot to be said for people that use schedules, because some kids need that. Some kids are very, very rigid. I, from the beginning of my kid's diagnosis, decided that that wasn't something I could accept. I couldn't accept the rigidity of it. You know, like, we have to eat at 8 a.m. We have to do this. We have to do that. So we just kind of like, during our normal school routine in our school year, you know, they generally have a pretty good bedtime. Right now, I'm like, okay, you know what? You want to stay up a little bit later and get up a little bit later in the afternoon? That's fine, instead of the early mornings, because my kids are out the door by 6:30 in the morning to go to school. So that's all new to them, and that's all like preteen experience, which I'm glad it happened at this time for them, because it's normalcy. I get to see little pieces of normalcy when I don't follow a routine. I think that's special.
Amy, I sense a book writing opportunity for Jennifer on this now. What do you think? Honestly,
you're not the first one to say that.
I sense a book writing opportunity now. Now, Amy, you are an executive director of an organization, and on this stay-at-home order, it has to. I mean, listen, it's challenging for all of us. I don't minimize that. I'm doing a 3-person radio show from home where we're all doing our things collectively from our different homes. So that's challenging in and of itself. But you being an executive director with the stay-at-home order, how has it shaped the way that you look at your program and operate from here on now?
Well, I think we've had to kind of rethink everything that we have spent the last 10 years building. We put so much thought into what Itinerus would look like when we opened. And I think understanding now that the entire environment has changed and what is going to be asked of us has changed, and families' confidence in bringing people back to our building has changed, and staff concerns about, you know, infection control. These are words that I never thought I'd have to worry about when we were starting Itinerus 10 years ago. So I think what we are finding now, and each week is something that we're finding new. We are accessing as many resources as we possibly can, because we're all going through this process as a director's team, and we're learning as we go along. There are no protocols out there for what to do when a pandemic breaks out, when you have 100 autistic clients at 100 different, every one of them is individual and has their own needs and strengths and challenges and differences, and how we teach and how we learn and what their needs are. So we really have to look at each client as an individual going through this process and kind of rebuild what the next 9 to 12 months is going to look like. We started small with a small group of pilot clients to try virtual teaching. For some of the clients, it's been incredibly successful. For others, not at all. So now we're trying to figure out how to reach that next group of clients who are not able to do virtual learning. Can we go into their homes and do classes? Can we bring a small number of people back into our building? What does infection control look like? As I said, the words PPE and infection control are never things that I thought I would have to worry about as an executive director of an autism program.
Now, just for those, because we may have people who are watching this Zoomcast who aren't in the PFA circle, they may be introduced to us by the Zoomcast. So can you explain to our viewers what your organization is all about?
Sure. So Itinerus is an adult autism program that supports the entire spectrum of autism. We work on 4 major areas of focus: employment services, community development services, behavior services, and personal supports. Each client that comes to Itinerus has their own individual plan, and it is based specifically on their goals, their desires, their needs. We do a tremendous amount of assessing, work very closely with the families, and determine what their goals are for their future. So if it's growing in independence or self-advocacy, or in any area, adult daily living skills. So we kind of look at the young adult who left school, where were they? And how do we get them to the next place in their life? So Itinerus actually means the journey in Latin. And it was our plan from the beginning to help young adults journey into adulthood. And what does that look like? And as I said, each individual person that is an Itinerus member has their own program. So we are literally running 100 programs every day.
Now, do you have a website for that, for folks who may want to get involved in that?
Absolutely. It's www.itineris, which is ITINERIS, the word Baltimore spelled out, .org.
Thank you very much. Now, Jennifer, do you have any words of support for someone who may be going through your situation right now during this stay-in order?
I think the best thing that we can do is support each other as a community. Reach out to the local online support groups. A lot of parents who have single, just one kid, are struggling even more than what we are because their kids don't have anybody to socialize or communicate with in the home. So get some groups of friends online, do some Zoomcast with your buddies, and even FaceTime or Facebook with their friends. Let them interact. I think the best thing that you could do is reach out to support. For me, myself, I feel like my community, which is a disability community, is one of the most loving and understanding groups. I mean, we really care about each other. So my advice is if you feel like you're drowning and you feel like you need help, reach out to somebody, because this is a seriously hard time for not only us but our kids. And when we say our kids struggle, we start to flutter more and we start to try to do more, and sometimes less is more. And I think that's my best piece of advice. Less is more. Sometimes just take that break. Go sit outside. Go enjoy a book with your kids. Or, I like to take my kids to this little pagoda that's pretty much abandoned for picnics. That's my special thing that I do for them.
Now, Amy, your situation is completely different from Jennifer's. Any words of wisdom for you with someone maybe home with someone on the spectrum who's an adult?
I think, the advice is still the same. I think being flexible and allowing yourself to take breaks. We as moms, we feel like we have to be on all the time and fixing everything. And it's really, really important for us to make sure that we're taking some time each day for ourselves, whether it's mowing a lawn outside or, just going outside and looking at some flowers and gardening and meditating for 5 minutes, but really just taking a little bit of time for yourself and giving yourself permission to just say it's okay if it's not a perfect day. I mean, we're going to have to all be flexible and go with the flow of our my daughter, even with, schedules, yesterday at 2:30, she just was not into taking her class, and we were having a pretty big meltdown yesterday, and it's okay. So you don't take class. Let's try something else. What do you want to do? And, just, it's okay to let them be okay. And not hold them to such high standards during this time, and not hold ourselves to such high standards at this time. It's okay.
Yeah. Flexibility is the key. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Dance parties are important.
Very.
Dance parties are important. Trust me.
Important for you or for the kids?
Both of us. A lot of comedy in it. There's a lot of fun in a dance party.
So I hope you're watching Pathfinders for Autism. We need more dance parties, right? Amy,
right.
Thank you very much. Amy Taubenfeld, Jennifer Langley, thank you very much for your time, for joining us on the PFA Zoomcast.
Thank you.
Thank you.